Okay, now we're back. Now we talked about finding the square root of a number. Now how do we find the square root of a variable? Well, this is pretty simple. Since we're trying to find the square root, okay, that means 2. Later on you will talk about cube roots, which means 3, or the fourth root, which means 4. But right now we're talking about a square root. So to find the square root of a variable with an exponent, for example, the square root of x to the 15, I am going to divide the exponent by 2. So over here, 15 divided by 2. The quotient, in this case, that's my 7, is the exponent of the variable outside of the radical. So 15 divided by 2 is 7. So x to the 7th comes outside of my radical. The remainder, in this case 1, and any time I take the square root, the only remainder I will ever have is 1, if I have a remainder. The remainder is the exponent of the variable inside the radical. So right here, x to the 1st remains inside the radical. And then I rewrote it without the exponent. You could stop. You could have stopped right there with a 1 exponent. I just rewrote it without the 1 exponent inside the radical. So, take the exponent, divide it by 2. The quotient goes with the variable outside of the radical. The remainder goes with the variable inside the radical. Alright, so let's find the square root of 4. Okay. So here's my work. Divide by 2. What's 4 divided by 2? 2 with a remainder of 0. So x to the 2nd comes outside. Do I have anything inside? No, I have 0. So the square root of x to the 4th is x to the 2nd. Find the square root of x to the 10th. 10 divided by 2 is 5. With a remainder of 0. So once again, x to the 5th is the square root of x to the 10th. Alright, x to the 3rd. So I have x to the 1st outside. Do I have to put the 1? You can, or you can leave it off. But I have a remainder of 1. So now, inside the radical, the variable with my remainder. So the square root of x to the 3rd is x times the square root of x, if you chose to write it without the variables of, exponents of 1. Alright, let's move down. Now I've got some numbers and some variables. So I have to apply both rules. I'm going to separate it for myself into the square root of 4 and the square root of x to the 9th. And this is multiplication. Alright, now what's the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is just 2. Now what's the square root of x to the 9th? Okay, 9 divided by 2 is 4. So x to the 4th is going to come out. Remainder of 1. X to the 1st is going to stay inside. So my answer is 2x to the 4th times the square root of x. Number 11. Okay, this time I must split it into 3. Square root of 8 times square root of x to the 5th times the square root of y to the 6th. So these are 3 different problems. Let's talk about the square root of 8 first. Square root of 8, square root of 4 times square root of 2. Well, the square root of 4 is 2. Now, can I do anything with the square root of 2? No. So that the square root of 8 simplifies to become 2 square roots of 2. Now, x to the 5th. Let's do the work. I'm running out of a little bit of room, but 5 divided by 2 is 2. So x to the 2nd comes out. Remainder 1. times x to the first inside. So x to the second times x to the first. And then for 6 divided by 2 is 3. So y to the third comes out with a remainder of 0. That's it. Now, notice the terms that are outside the radicals. We're going to put those together, so 2x to the second, y to the third. And then the terms that are inside the radical, I'm going to put back inside the radical 2 times x, because I'm multiplying them. And that is my final answer right there for number 11. Alright, number 12. -5 times 12 times x to the 6. So that's how I'm going to separate it. -5 times the square root of 12 times the square root of x to the 6. Alright, so I have a -5. Can't do anything with it yet. 12. Square root of 12, I'm going to use the square root of 4 and the square root of 3. Now the square root of 4 is 2, but then I still have the square root of 3. X to the 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. A remainder of 0. Alright. -5 is outside the radical, times 2 is outside the radical, times x to the third is outside the radical. So -10 x to the third. And then the square root of 3 is inside the radical. That is my answer to number 12. Alright, again, if I've gone too fast, please rewind, listen to it again, watch my examples. But for you, you've got 3 problems here. Okay, so just like the previous 3, these are going to be multiple choice. So click on an answer for 13, 14, and 15. So try to work it on your own and then submit your answer. Alright, if you have any questions, please come to tutorials.